boner.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the Pulse with Willie and Al. How's it going today, bro?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. For me, NFL playoffs have started, which meant I watched a lot of football this weekend and did absolutely nothing. And I'm gonna be honest, it was the dream, man. It
Yeah.
was the dream.
It is playoff season, baby. And the
And there
only
was and there was a lot of shit football too. That's the thing. Like I watched a
there
lot of
was.
shitty games this weekend.
There was, man. I don't know why, like I've never been into college football, but you got me into the college football semis. And
I
so like
told you.
I watched that and I'm like, oh man, this is kind of cool to watch. So like yeah, a lot on the line and like I don't know. It was
Also,
kind of
both
cool.
semifinal games were really good. I think that
Yeah.
like if you
Yeah.
were gonna tune in, like the semifinal games were where it was at. Like it was just good football. So
Absolutely. Well,
yeah,
we are back today, and we are bringing you our 69th episode. So we have episode
nice,
69.
nice.
Nice. And today we're going to talk about NFL playoffs. I was just going to mention kind of the somber thing about the NFL playoffs is that we realize that we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, which is kind of tough. So we know there's roughly what 16 games left, something like that, less than that, right? Uh
yeah.
yeah, and it's tough, right? Less than that. I think there's what 10, 11 games left, something like that. But
Uh,
we want more.
seven. There's 7 games left.
7 total.
Yeah, there's 4 games this weekend, then 2 the weekend after that, and then one after that.
Yeah, clearly Willie doesn't know how to count. But yes, 7 games. And listen,
Yeah.
if we could have gotten 16 for you, I would have tried to squeeze that out, boys. But not able to. So let's without further ado, let's jump right in, right? The NFL playoffs went down this week. First game that we had up was Chargers at Texans. And it just for me, some interesting storylines that kind of came about with this game, but Herbert just wasn't able to get his first win, right? His first playoff win with that. And it's really tough to do with 4 picks. And I know people were jumping all over him about, oh, yeah, like all the turnovers, this and that. This guy's never thrown, I believe, before this week, 3 picks in a single game, dating back to
Yeah.
high school. And he threw 4 in this game. Like the defense just had his number, right? And it just, I think maybe those jitters that he had, but I definitely don't think Herbert's going to be an issue going forward. He needs to get his feet wet. This was a good way to do it. And I think this is going to be a good football team going forward. Like they definitely surprised a lot of people this year. Uh, Made the playoffs. It wasn't great, but one guy that was kind of surprising, Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
Very good pickup for them this year. And I know you had mentioned it last week when we talked about your Pats, like some of the teams that skipped over him in the draft.
They had that pick.
Yeah,
The Chargers traded up for it. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
he crushed it in his playoff debut.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed it.
Well,
Uh,
I think the thing that I was not prepared for was that the Chargers have a pretty good offensive line.
mhm.
And I know that Houston's defensive line is pretty good, but I kind of thought that was just going to be a wash and they'd cancel each other out, and that wasn't the case.
No.
Like Houston's defensive line did whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, and I think like we're gonna talk about that coming up here, but the pairing of Anderson and name blanking on it now, but Will Anderson and
And Mario Edwards.
not Mario Edwards, the guy that they traded from the Vikings.
Oh,
Uh,
Danielle Hunter.
yeah, Hunter. Yeah, the pairing of those two. I mean, they wreak havoc on teams. And I don't know. I just Demico Ryan's being a obviously a former Texan, but also like understanding from a defensive standpoint how to be able to scheme against people. In addition to that, he understands the importance of bulletin board material, and Rex Ryan gave them all they needed with saying that like, oh yeah, the Chargers basically got a bye week. And that was one of the first things he said when they got into the
Yeah.
locker room was like, "How about that bye week, boys?" And it's just very, very interesting. I'm not going to say that the Texans, yeah, they beat up on the Chargers in this game. I'm not overly impressed by what the Texans did. I'm not. It doesn't make me scared of them going into the next game.
I think this. I think that I think that Houston's defensive line is at least gonna give Kansas City some problems.
So I
We'll
didn't
talk about
I
that,
didn't
but like,
specify on that, but I meant offensively. Like they just didn't
oh
do
yeah,
anything offensively that I was like, okay. And it's too bad because the way the year started, man, like they looked very good offensively. With you had Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs back onto this team healthy. That
yeah,
that's a scary team. Very scary.
yeah, yeah. They essentially like Houston didn't get their act together until like the last minute of the second quarter,
Yeah, didn't they get
and then they
shut out
scored,
in the first quarter? They didn't score any
and then
points
they
in the
scored
first quarter.
10 points in under a minute.
Yep.
Again, thanks to turnovers, but like that really was kind of like the jump start they needed, and then it was just kind of, yeah, they didn't do anything that I was like cool offensively. Houston was like, I was like cool, but like again, if you get 4 picks off a guy, like you're gonna be set up pretty well to score some points.
Or to at least win the football game, unless
Yeah,
you're playing the Lions and Jared Goff throws 5 picks and you still can't seem to win.
yeah.
That just does not feel good. Um,
Houston
yeah,
did run the ball though well. That's that I will say they had
yeah,
was like 34 carries for like 160 yards. Like they ran the ball well. They had the ball time of possession for almost 35 minutes. Like they shot themselves in the foot a lot too with penalties. They had 8 penalties. Like
yeah.
I
That's not good.
yeah,
It's just not good.
it's just a
Um,
weird game. I don't like if you play that game 10 times, like I don't think that's the outcome every time. I
no,
really
and
don't.
and actually, it was a scoregami if I remember correctly, right?
Sure was.
Yep. I
Yeah.
know you're into that. So, all right. Well, so I wasn't able to watch that game live. I had to watch it afterwards because of the time difference. But this game, I actually woke up early for, on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And this was Steelers at Ravens. Listen, this first of all, I really enjoyed watching this game.
Yeah. This
And
was just a down.
yeah, it really was, man. They just all 10 toes in, they just beat them down, man. It
The,
just
the, I know that like you look at the score and you're like, oh boy, they only lost by 2 touchdowns, but the
it
stats don't tell the story of like the stats tell the story of what really happened.
yeah. The Steelers, listen, they just seemed outmatched from the very beginning, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
I looked at it, the Ravens essentially ran for 300 yards on them, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think they finished a yard or two shy. But
299.
yeah,
Yep.
Lamar looked good, but they didn't need him in this game. They
No.
didn't. The
Nope.
King Henry, and I'm pretty sure there was snow in Vermont. Um,
Mm.
funny when I talked to my parents on Sunday, they said, "Oh, this is the first day that it hasn't snowed." So it looks like they got all the snow they needed for King Henry to be able to, to plow through and have a good game. He just
There
looked
was
really good, man.
there was the long run he had where he just like stiff arms the guy like in a way that I was like it was almost like borderline disrespectful how
Oh, it
hard he stiff armed him.
it was
You're like,
disrespectful. And
Jesus.
do you know they know each other from Alabama?
Oh, I
Yeah,
yeah.
that Minka Fitzpatrick and him, they go back. They got
Mm,
history playing together at Alabama, so they know each other. But it wasn't borderline, man. That was
yeah.
brutally disrespectful, and I mean, that's him taking all the frustration of the years of playing with the Titans and not experiencing good playoff football. He took that into his own hands.
He
Um,
was averaging 7 yards a carry.
yeah, and just when you look at it, especially Ricard that you have there too. I mean, he's what
Yeah.
330. He's a lineman
Yeah.
that they put at fullback, right? He
Mhm.
may even be more than that. I think some people were saying he's more than 330, but he's a big
Yeah, it
dude,
felt like a
man.
cheat code, them running the ball. I'm like,
Yeah,
the thing was, like, Pittsburgh knew they were going to run the ball, and like Pittsburgh respectfully couldn't do anything about it.
they couldn't. He's too physical, man, and that's the thing. If you could figure out a way to stop them on first down, then you put them in a situation where it's like, okay, if we can get another stop on second down, then they're going to have to do something else. But
Yeah.
teams that can't stop the run, what are they going to do, man? You got to figure out a plan against them. And listen, the offensive line, the Ravens' offensive line, I mean, they looked really, really good. And tell me there's not a better time to feel it in the playoffs than when you're blocking very well for your running back and he's just running people over. That's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to do this all day. All day.
Well, this is kind of like what I've always like when I was really high on Baltimore to start the year. This is what I was
I
hoping
was
would
wondering the
happen.
way you started that there. I was like,
Yeah, like, and I just kept thinking, like, man, like the talent is there,
yep,
like, and like their offensive line was a little suspect. Like, remember watching that opening Kansas City game, that opening night, and their offensive line was just like, what are they doing? Like,
yeah,
and they weren't calling plays for Henry, and they were trying to like figure out like a rhythm, and they figured it out.
yeah,
And the fact as a team that they ran for over 3,000 yards this season as a team and threw for 4,000 yards as a team,
insane.
that's they're the only team to ever do that.
Yeah,
Like that's insane.
a lot of never haves this year. Like you look at the touchdowns that were scored by Buffalo, what they
Yeah.
did, and now I mean we're going to get a great matchup to talk about with them, which is very interesting coming forward here. But Steelers, I I don't know. There's rumors like they haven't won a playoff game since 2016, so there's rumors of them possibly moving on from Tomlin. Um, I don't know, man. I don't think he's the biggest problem there, to be honest.
No, you just have shitty quarterback. You've had shitty quarterback play for 10 years now.
Yeah, I
You had
mean,
because you had the tail end of Roethlisberger, which wasn't good. And then you went to Kenny Pickett. You had Justin Fields. You had Russell Wilson.
yeah, but dude, like,
Uh,
were you as confused as I was when they start subbing them in and out? And I'm like, what are they doing right now? Like,
I watched enough Steelers games this year because sometimes like they get Fields on a run, and like it for the most part that kind of worked when they brought him in.
yeah,
This just wasn't the game for it.
no,
Like
no,
they
no.
tried it because they were like, okay, maybe this can jumpstart us, but like Baltimore's having none of it.
Well, I want to talk about Kyle Hamilton, but I'll wait till we talk about Buffalo to mention him because he's a
Yeah.
big difference maker. So is Marlon Humphrey. They're just, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they've looked good on that defense. And it's another guy I just wanted to point out real quick. Kyle Van Noy. He
Former
just,
Patriot.
yeah, I know, but like, dude, I thought he was like 45 years old when they signed him. And he's had like 3 good years there now. Like, maybe it's not three. Maybe it just feels like that. Like he's been there
Yeah.
forever. But dude, he had a great season last year, and he's in there making plays again this year. So, and they lost a ton of people from this team in the offseason. A ton on offense and defense.
He's only 33.
Yeah, he seems like he's 45.
Yeah.
So,
This is his 12th year in the league.
yeah,
He's been playing since 2014, which is wild.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yep.
Let's move on real quick. We got the Broncos at Bills. And I know we kind of texted each other on this, so I was able to watch this one because it was 9 p.m. here. So
Mhm.
I stayed up and watched this one. And listen, Denver. I love the game plan that they had at the beginning.
Yeah.
It really like Sean Payton just, dude. I do not want to play a Sean Payton team ever. Like, okay, so people look at the score and they're like, oh man, the Broncos got killed. They didn't really get killed. They were in that for at least the first half where it was dangerously close for Bills fans.
Well, the thing that Buffalo kept doing though, like they just kept running the ball down Denver's throat.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the thing, like Buffalo just couldn't capitalize on it.
Right.
And like what happened in the second half was like Denver's defense just got worn down.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's when Buffalo finally started capitalizing on it. And like Josh Allen like was just like, oh hey, wait, like we're infinitely better than this team.
Yeah. Let me show
We
you
need
how
to
it's
like
done.
take care of business. And
Yeah.
that's what they did.
Yeah.
Like if you the stats are wild on that one. Like the time of possession is hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Hilarious.
still think Sean Payton's a good coach. I thought he got way more out of this team last year this year than people even
Mhm.
anticipated. I didn't have this team making the playoffs this year. I thought they were very far away from the playoffs, and they actually did well. That comes out after that. Supposedly, Bo Nix was playing with a broken back. Like,
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
dude? Like, this guy is just crazy. And even I think Lewis Riddick, I think it was Lewis Riddick, was talking about how he went and visited the Broncos at the beginning of the season during training camp, and he was watching what Sean Payton was doing to Bo Nix in terms of running him through the play calls and like understanding all of that. And he's like, dude, he was torturing this kid, torturing him. Like
Yeah.
with all of the stuff that he needed to know, that he needed to understand, there's just no way he could have done it. And then all of a sudden, week 7 hits and Bo Nix starts like he's got it, dude. He's got
Yeah.
it. He is, and it's funny. All the quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him in the last 2 years, I put him up there with most of them.
Yeah.
Name one that you'd want more? Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud this year.
Drake May.
Okay, so Drake.
I'm a little biased.
Yeah,
biased.
you're a little biased, but
I apologize.
but even C.J. Stroud didn't have that great of a year this year. You know, like Bryce Young, he was the number 1 pick, didn't have that great of a year. Bo Nix seems to have got it, and he landed on a team where you look at that first drive they had down the field. Whew, that was awesome, and it all of a sudden you see the Bills defenders kind of looking at each other like, is this the way today's gonna go? Like, we hope not. But
also fun stat or fun thing that happened. So that first touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Troy Franklin and Bo Nix are both rookies, and they're both teammates
at Oregon. Yeah. Yeah, they were awesome.
First rookie to rookie,
which is really cool, and that's why they drafted him. They asked Bo Nix about him, and he said, "Yeah, dude, this guy's a baller. Like, you got to get him." But all of these guys that you kind of wondered, like, okay, Cortland Sutton. There was rumors that like, oh, he's on his way out as soon as Sean Payton gets hired and stuff. Cortland Sutton had a great year this year. You know, you look at some of these other guys. Yeah, they ditched Judy. They got rid of him, but they figured out ways to win. And this defense with a lot of guys that, they've got some good names on that defense behind Patrick Surtain. But this was a team that let Justin Simmons go in the offseason, who was their all-pro safety.
Yeah.
Like, this was a team that just let guys walk out the door, it seemed. And apparently Sean Payton knew what he was doing. So
yeah, I really think the building blocks are there.
Yeah.
For them to contend. Like, I think they need to get better. I think offensive line. I think they need to get a little better there. I think there are just like minor tweaks that they need, and I think that the foundation's there now.
Yeah.
I think that's really good to see.
Yeah, so. And apparently Sean Payton knows how to be able to get the job done.
Yeah.
So. So big things looking up for Broncos for next year. That's going to be a very tough division in football going forward because you've got some really good coaches there. You just do. And then who knows what's going to happen in Vegas, but I imagine they're going to hire someone that's going to be able to compete. And if Ben Johnson goes there, and that's who rumored Tom Brady wants there, that could be a very, very tough division in football.
God, I hope Ben Johnson doesn't go there. I really don't. That team's the pits. It's the worst.
Yeah, but you need a culture change, right? And
I guess,
yeah. We'll see.
I mean, we just hired a guy for culture change, so like, I get it.
Yeah, he's the one that comes in and tells Kraft like, "Hey, here's the door, buddy. I've got this." But I actually like all they're saying about Vrabel going in there, and
me too.
They were talking about there's a lot of people upstairs in the front office for New England that want to make some decisions, and Vrabel's going to be like, "Yeah, you got no business doing this." Yeah, I got the track record that shows it. So listen to me. I'm making the call here. You stick to stapling papers or doing whatever you're doing up there.
Also, we have a really easy schedule next year, so like, if we can just hit on some draft picks, I think like we'll be weirdly okay.
I think their guys are going to be held accountable.
I hope so.
All right, so let's move on here. We got a few more games to be able to get through. We got Packers at Eagles. Now, yeah, you go ahead. You start. Clearly, you love this game.
So that opening kickoff where the guy fumbles it, and clearly it shows that he has possession of the ball still. And just because somebody from Philly ripped it out of his hands after the whistle, they're like, you know what, Philly ball, and you're like,
I mean, he also
all right,
got hit
cool.
helmet to helmet too.
Yeah, yeah. I that game was a miserable 3 hours to watch a football.
Yeah.
Like, god damn it. Like Green Bay. I at towards the end, I had to Google who they had for receivers because I
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah. They
No
had
clue.
so many injuries. Not to mention they had guards that were Elton Jenkins wasn't there. They were replacing guys left and right, and then all of a sudden, like the backups to the backups are getting multiple penalties. They're getting pulled out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh
It's
man.
just a real ugly game. Like,
Yeah, dude, I understood what you were talking about. Listen, I understood all year what you mentioned with Hertz about like why you didn't want to play him in fantasy because oh, he's 6 of 13 at halftime for 36 yards and you're like, "What?" Like,
yeah. Yup.
this is awful. But
Yeah.
uh it just I think the hard part of that is you're wrestling with the thought in your head that he's much better than this,
Mhm.
right? It's just, why is this happening if he's so much better than this? You have one of the best offensive in all of football, one of the best offensive lines in all of football. How is this the results that are coming from this?
Yeah, like you have some of the best receivers in the league.
Arguably the best 1-2 in the league, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
Devonta
just
Smith
like
is a number one on another team.
yeah. And it just was like Saquon Barkley just running the ball
Yep,
because he for 5 yards a pop.
yep.
And then
Um,
on like 3rd and 1, you knew that like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, they're just gonna tush push it. And
yeah.
that's good on them. Like, and it works. Like it just was an ugly game. And now like there's like the weird distractions, like the AJ Brown reading a book on the
Dude,
sideline.
what is that?
He
Like,
claims he does it all the time, but like how have cameras never caught it till now?
yeah.
That's my thing.
So, like, I don't know. We're gonna bring that up in the when we talk about who they're playing because I definitely think that has effects on the team, right? Like everything
Mhm.
is calculated when it comes to this guy. He doesn't just do stuff for no reason. Like I said, I feel bad because AJ Brown's still riding on that, that statement to that reporter of
Yeah.
like he's still riding on good faith for me.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say bad things about him because like he's shown that he's a person. So I don't know. I
Also,
can't.
this doesn't really distract them because like they've gone through this like all season and they keep winning. So like it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter, I
yeah.
guess.
They're winning. I
Yeah.
love the fact that Barkley decided to kneel and like, or basically kneel the ball down after he got the first down, and betters were pissed about it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, because he could have taken that to the house.
could have, but he's a very smart football player, and good for him,
Yeah.
for doing that. This defense, I mean, Vic Fangio has them playing ridiculous. Like they don't need anyone on offense. They could carry a team with how good they're
Boy,
playing.
that defense made Jordan Love's day miserable.
Well, and the talk kind of shifts from like that defense being good to like Love just being a disappointment this year, which I don't think is the case. I think they just had a very rough season. High
He also was hurt
expectations.
for. He also got hurt at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he loses Christian Watson last week. Like that,
And he had the elbow thing too, where like
yeah, dude. Like there's
yeah,
so much to be said with that, and now all of the narrative changes to like, oh, this guy's not good. It's like, well, listen, we're playing in a league now where there's a lot of good quarterbacks and a lot of good teams. It's not
yeah.
like it's just the times of like having three guys per conference that are good. A lot of these dudes know how to play football. It's a
And the
tough
thing
thing.
is like going into the 3rd quarter, like they were still in it too. They were still in it.
Yeah, like
Like
I again, I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach.
I do too.
I think he does a lot with a little. They need to add some more talent. They added it on defense this year, but
Yeah,
Alexander, they got to move on from him. Like I think I read like he's played 14 out of the last 34 games the past 2 seasons.
yeah.
Like, dude, it's time to move on. I've heard nothing but smack talk out of that guy's mouth from the sideline. It's like, dude, you gotta make yourself available for your team. He doesn't know how to stay healthy, man. And like, how do you? He's got no guaranteed money left on his contract. I think they just cut him and move on.
Well, too, like Green Bay, this is, I think, a credit to LaFleur's coaching. Like, with 7.5 minutes left in the fourth, they were only down 6.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like yeah, they were hanging around in that game, and they were so banged up. They ran out of steam.
Yeah.
Like, they just didn't have enough healthy guys.
Meanwhile, if they it caught fire there at the end and win the game, like then people are talking about like, oh, Philly,
Because
how did they blow this?
they had momentum driving in the start of the fourth. They get that like end of the third quarter, like Love's leading them down the field. They get the touchdown, and then you're like, because Josh Jacobs has that run
Mm-hmm.
where like
Marshawn Lynch beast mode run.
yeah,
Yeah.
like guys are hanging on the back of his jersey, and he's just running like this, and you're like, all right,
I'm
like
so happy for him, by the way. And I know not a lot of people pay attention to the analytics of it, but Green Bay this year, statistically before the season, faced the hardest rushing defense schedule of any team in the NFL this year.
yeah,
And Jacobs, I just love this dude, man. Like every story that comes out about him just shows like his work ethic, what a grinder he is. I mean, I want to see nothing but success for him. I really
yeah,
do. Um, and hopefully he's still young, man. Hopefully next year they're able to find some guys that can stay healthy. I'd love to see them go after like a big name wide receiver. I don't think they're Devontae's coming back, but
no,
I'd really like to see them go after someone, a good free agent or bring someone in that's a real playmaker on offense that makes things dangerous to like pair opposite Jaden Reed, and you got Tucker Kraft there. Luke Musgrave, they didn't use him as much this year, but last year he was good, man. Like they
yeah,
drafted Kraft and Musgrave in the same draft. Both of those dudes can play. Like it just, I don't know. I'd really like to see them, upgrade the offense a little bit more. Maybe they tackle offensive line with that. But let's see. Commanders at Bucks. I know you like this now. Like what a game. Was this the game of the weekend? Was it?
For me, I thought there were gonna be more points scored, but
Okay.
this game, I'm gonna say like was as evenly played as possible.
Yeah. Yep.
Like there were just like a few kind of like small fuck ups on Tampa's part.
There was only one
Like Tampa
turnover, right?
settling was that?
One turnover in the game, right?
Yeah,
Just a
Baker had a
fumble.
fumble.
Yep.
But really the kind of the weird play of the game is like it's towards the end of the game and it's like third and like I think it's like 3rd and 2, and Baker fucks up the snap count.
Hmm.
And then like everybody like on Tampa doesn't know what the play is. And so he just like quickly chucks it to Irving, and he gets like tackled for a loss, and they have to settle for that field goal to tie the game. And then you're like, that gave Jaden Daniels enough time to like just march down the field.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, it was a really good game though. So
and listen, I really like Baker being there. There's talks of them moving on from Todd Bowles and what that might mean for them there because they want to like Tampa Bay is a team that wants to compete every year. Like that their fans want them in it. Ownership wants them to be able to compete. And Baker, I think, is a guy, man. Like he's going to give you a chance to win the football game. I love the way he played this year. He had a career year. That team loves him. They believe in him. I don't know.
yeah,
I really think big things are coming their way. And when it comes to Washington, like I could not be more happy for the fans of Washington. You realize it's been 7,000 days since they
yeah.
had a playoff win.
The last time
7,000 days, dude. Who even like what?
their
7,000
last playoff
days?
win, Mark Brunell was their starting cornerback, and Sean Taylor had a fumble recovery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
insane.
So
Rest in peace, Sean.
yeah. But
uh,
like when that drive started, I like it was weird because it was like the first time that I was ever like, oh, Jane Daniels is gonna march him down the field for the field goal. And he did exactly that. There's
yeah.
a play like it's like 3rd and 1, and to get the first down can kind of like ice it. They can run out the clock, and he takes it, and you think that he's like I think he goes to like the right,
Mm-hmm.
and he looks like he's dead to rights, and then he shakes one guy off and like kind of just jukes him, and then gets the first down. And you're like, well, that's kind of like a cheat code. Like you don't really like you had the guy dead to rights. You played the best defense possible,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't matter.
He's very elusive, dude, and he doesn't need to be as fast as Lamar to be able to shake guys.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy to watch him and what he's done in the fourth quarter and overtime games this year. this dude has it, man. He
Right.
has it. He knows how to be able to win, and I don't know. He showed it. It's too bad that it came at the Bucks doorstep, right? But good for
Yeah.
him. Good for the organization. Good for the fans as they're trying to like reshape this image of what the Washington team used to be in the past. So very happy
When
for them.
when I saw like the matchups for the wild card weekend, and I saw that it was Tampa Washington, it made me really sad because I want both those teams to do well, and I was like, damn it, one of these teams has to get eliminated the first
Yep.
weekend.
I hate that too. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly the way I feel, man. Um,
Yeah.
really
But
tough.
Washington now, like Washington Detroit's going to be a weirdly fun game.
Yeah, I can't wait to
That's
break
going to
that
be
down.
weird.
That it's going to be a lot of fun talking about that one.
Yeah.
Last game that we've got, Vikings at Rams. Listen, I know what this is going to turn into because it already started to that. Like Sam Darnold did this, Sam Darnold did that, and Sam Darnold being Sam Darnold. But really, like the dude took 9 sacks. How could he do anything?
Yeah.
Anything, man. Like he got out of there with what, throwing 1 pick
Yeah.
and had a fumble. Like he took 9 sacks, man. Like, and I say he took it, like they gave it to him, right?
Sure did.
That offensive line did not do their due diligence in protecting him. Now I realize like he lost one of his linemen. Like I realize they struggled with that, but dude, like I can't put all of this on Sam Darnold. I can't. And I need to go back and watch
Remember?
all the clips of it to
Yeah.
see exactly how he did, but I can't believe this is all on him. I just can't, man.
We talked about it last week that as much as we love Kevin O'Connell as a coach, there is going to be a coach that can outcoach him, and that guy Sean McVay. And Sean McVay, like what he did, that was a game where it's like this is why you have a Sean McVay as a coach
Yeah. He's a G,
because
dude.
he will Jedi mind trick you into like things that you don't even know what's going before you know. Like they had 6 sacks by halftime.
Yeah, dude, I'm pretty sure there's going to be Sean McVay memes that mirror like Chuck Norris memes. Like Sean McVay could get
Yeah,
you to sell your house to him without even pulling out a pen or something like that,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
crazy stuff like that that he could just trick you into doing exactly what he wants you to do. Um yeah, man,
yeah,
like he just showed like the control, and they've got Stafford has playoff experience. He knows how to be able to get up for a game. Cooper Cup looked all right. Puka Nakua is just Puka Nakua, and I don't think people realize his stats and how good they are because he was injured for a lot of this year.
yeah,
But he almost finished with 1,000 yards. But his EPA rating on yards per catch is insane, dude. It's one of the best in the last 25 years. One of the
yeah.
best in the
It's
last
insane
25 years, dude. It's insane what he's able to do with the ball in his hands. He's a ridiculous playmaker. He really is.
because like if you just like before this game, like you just looked at the talent on both teams, you're like, wow, Minnesota is heads and shoulders above the Rams with talent,
And
and like
experience.
yeah, but Sean McVay like coached them up in a way that you're like, well, like I legitimately like I don't know if they're gonna beat Philly, but like I think that like he's a better coach than Sirianni, and we'll talk about it. Like if you tell me
Yeah.
that the Rams are gonna win this weekend, I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, that actually kind of that tracks. Sure.
Yeah,
Like
it's wild to look at too because I mean, Jared Verse is awesome, but so is his buddy Braden Fisk that they drafted out of Florida State. Man, like they are
yeah,
just they form a dynamic duo there, and when you have two guys that are used to playing together, and then you bring them into your scheme and just say, all right, I want you guys to do what you do, but tweak it to do what we do. I mean,
right.
they've been great this year for him as rookies. Great. I mean, you can't replace an Aaron Donald, right? Imagine Aaron Donald on this team. My goodness. My goodness.
They would have had 15 sacks.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, like
He's in like it. They've been playing awesome, and it just honestly it felt like Minnesota just wasn't able to fully recover from that Detroit loss. That's what it felt like. Like they were not able to
yeah,
get a rhythm going where it was like, okay, we're not making mistakes, we're not doing stuff. Justin Jefferson, I think he finished the game with what? 5 catches, was
Five for
it?
58.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it just unfortunately just a non-factor, right? Like he had a
Yeah.
few catches that were like okay, 17 yards, something like that, but it really wasn't much substantial, right? They couldn't get that rhythm going where it was like, all right, it's his time to shine. Now, part of that was losing offensive line, right? Like they lost their
Yeah.
offensive tackle earlier in the year. They lost another, I think, a guard in this game. It's just really tough to be able to deal with. But hopefully they get things figured out moving forward. You know, the big questions are going to swirl around all offseason about are they bringing back Sam Darnold? Are they ready for JJ McCarthy? People are saying cut bait on Sam Darnold, but I don't know.
I
Sam,
think you got to bring. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say I think you got to bring him back. I think we agree
I
on that.
agree.
Yeah,
Like,
you
yeah,
got to.
I think you got to. Like,
Yeah,
he's done enough that, like, pay the guy.
yeah.
Like,
Maybe you're not
I'm
going to
not
pay him
saying give him,
40
like,
million, but
yeah, but give him, like, the Geno Smith contract when he signed with Seattle after that good season he had,
yeah,
whereas, like, 3 for 100. Like, if they gave him that or give him a Baker Mayfield deal, I'd be perfectly okay with that.
yeah.
That, sure.
Really wouldn't be bad. At least for another two
No,
years while you still get McCarthy in growing around him, and if he becomes better, then okay, Darnold moves to backup. But I don't know. Darnold earned the trust of the team at least for one more year there. At
I
least
agree.
one more
Yeah,
year. And make it team friendly if you want to, and cut him after the first year. But you got to bring him back.
yeah,
He means too much to the guys there, and those guys want to fight for him. You saw the way that
yeah,
locker room was after they won that game, dude. They love him. Love
yeah,
him. All right, man. I think that's it for wild card round. Let's
yeah.
start diving into some of these divisional round matchups. First one up is Texans at Chiefs. Chiefs. I checked earlier today; they were getting 7.5. I don't know if it's still the same thing now, but
Woof.
yeah, I mean, this has the makings of a great matchup, and I know a lot of people are thinking Kansas City's going to run away with this and crush them. I think it's going to be much closer than that, man. I really
Kansas
do.
City hasn't crushed anybody all year, minus that Steelers game at Christmas.
Yeah, so they played pretty close to each other earlier in the season when they played. Um, but you know, I just think there's 4 teams left in the conference, in each one anything can
Yeah.
happen. Any of those teams, 2 of those teams are going to end up. 4 of those teams will end up playing next weekend, right?
Mhm.
Two of them are going to end up in the Super Bowl, so it's going to be one of the 8 left. You know that ends up winning it. Why can't it be Houston? You know, and so that's what I kind of want to talk about now. Was I just me personally, and I don't listen. I'm saying this just because it's a feeling, not because I actually believe this, but feelings are different from what we believe. But I
Sure.
have a feeling that a 15 win team is going to lose this weekend. I don't know which one. I hope it doesn't happen. But I've just got a feeling. Okay. I'm not picking
Yeah.
either one of them to lose, but I have a feeling one of them will. And I don't like feeling that way. Um,
Sure.
I just
Honestly, the Chiefs can get the shit kicked out of them for 59 and a half minutes, and a lot of times it doesn't matter.
yeah, with 15
It doesn't.
seconds, Mahomes drives down the field and figures it out. It just
Because Mahomes in the playoffs is a different beast. Like,
they're playing better though recently. And
they
this is
are.
the thing. Having Worthy grow into the way he has, having Marquise
But
Brown back, having DeAndre Hopkins.
Pacheco back.
Yeah, Pacheco's back now. He's healthy. Chris Jones, he hasn't played the last couple of weeks, but he's coming back. Travis Kelsey's the dude who all of a sudden is
No.
like, oh yeah, by the way, I actually got 10 years younger in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Somehow he's able to do that. But there's a lot to like about the Chiefs, right? I mean, they haven't been dominant this year, but there's a lot of things to like about them. They're very well coached, arguably the best coached team in the
Yeah.
playoffs right now, with Reed and Spags. But Houston defense, I kind of like
Yeah.
them and how they match up not only against this Kansas City receivers, but how they match up against the tackles of Kansas City as well. Hunter and Anderson they wreak havoc, dude. They remind me of Freeney and Mathis when they used to
Yeah.
play. Now, that a different style of play, but they get after the quarterback, man. They are aggressive in doing so. I don't know, man. All it takes is a couple stops and it can change the flow of the game. It really, a few going the wrong way, and
You need more than a couple stops, though. You need to force Mahomes into turnovers. Like you can 3-and-out them all you want, but like if the game's down to the final possession and the ball's in Mahomes' hands, like I yeah.
Yeah. And listen,
And that's it,
I
and
agree with
that's
you
the
on
problem
that.
with teams playing the Chiefs this year is like they'll play them well for 55 minutes, but not 60.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing. And even like you look at how close Denver was to beating them, blocked field goal, last play of the game.
Yep.
That's how they win. So it's like they always figure out that little advantage of how to be able to get that. Um,
The thing with Houston that worries me too is like you can't Houston Houston's a pretty penalized team, and like you can't be giving Mahomes a free first down. You can't do it.
dude,
Like
that's what used to happen with the Patriot teams, right? Teams would play them very, very well. Same thing, 55 minutes. But the
yep.
penalties would add up. The turnover that they didn't need to make would do that, right? And that's how
Mhm.
those Patriot teams ended up winning, was because they didn't need to blow out every team. A few years they did, but many of those years they ended up winning close games just by, it was like boa constrictor on teams,
Yeah.
just choked them right out. um Now, with all that being said about Houston, I'm gonna be sticking with Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah, for me too. Like I always say this until you beat the champs, like they're the champs for a reason.
And you are
They're,
one, so it's,
yep. Well,
I
yep,
just think,
I'm no Mr. Eighth place, thank you very much.
yeah, there we go. We had to get it out of you.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be a close game
Ooh.
because I do think Houston's defensive line is going to be a nightmare.
Mhm.
Because respectfully, if there's one thing that Kansas City doesn't do well, their offensive line is hot garbage.
Yeah,
They just keep moving guys around, hoping it's going to work, and like that bill's going to come due. And like that being said, I think Kansas City does just enough, and I think
yeah.
Kansas City wins this 23-20.
Ooh, we're picking scores. Okay,
Yeah,
23-20.
fuck it.
All right. So, I'm going to go with the Chiefs for a few reasons, but they're playing at home, which is, Arrowhead's a very difficult place to play. They
And that's
have,
why you get that's why you fight for the 1 seed,
yeah,
so you can play at home for the playoffs.
yeah. They're playing at home. They have the best quarterback in terms of postseason experience. Now, he may not be the
Absolutely.
best quarterback this year, but he is the
Nope.
best quarterback when it comes to postseason experience. And until they lose, they deserve the nod, man. They
Yeah.
really do. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, let's see. You said 2012?
23-20.
23-20. Jeez, I was way
Yeah.
off on that. Okay, 23-20. I'm going to say Chiefs 24-17.
Okay.
That's how
Yeah.
I think it's going down. Yeah, all right. It's in the books, guys. You can count it.
Yeah.
So with the next game, we've got Ravens at Bills. Now, this is weird because the game started when it first was announced, Buffalo was getting 1 point. Now, as I checked this morning, Baltimore is getting 1 point.
Yeah.
But this is what I'll tell you. Up in Buffalo, it is supposed to be 18 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
It's going to be a cold game. And I'll tell you, Derrick Henry may be tough to tackle, but you know who could be tougher to tackle in the cold?
Hmm.
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He's a fridge, man, and that guy is thick between the cheeks. He is not going to be easy for them to tackle. It's going to happen,
these
man.
are these are two teams that are they play the exact these two teams are just mirror images of each other.
They are.
That's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it's gonna be harder to tackle Derrick Henry in under 20-degree weather. Because I will say this, the only difference between Buffalo and is Baltimore is beefier up front on the defensive line than Buffalo is. Buffalo's a little small on the defensive line.
Yeah.
And like that hasn't been a problem, but it was a problem when they
But
played
yeah.
Baltimore the first time around. And Baltimore hammered them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did, man. I don't know.
That being said, this just feels like it's Buffalo's year finally.
It does.
Like like this feels like the year they're going to start exercising some demons, and I think it starts with this game. And I think it's I'm going to say a thing. I don't think I think the defenses are just you can throw them out the window. To be honest with you, I really think this is a game where it's just kind of a track meet.
So like this is the interesting thing about this because you had messaged me yesterday about this matchup, and the thing that I find very intriguing about it, other than how much we're both looking forward to this, is because I think it's going to be great, but
Mm,
I can't help but feel like this game would be better if it was next weekend. And I know both of us kind of talked about it, like, okay, the Chiefs are in it still, but like, I don't know. I feel like the amount of people that want to see the Chiefs win a third one, beside outside of their fans, are very limited. We'd much rather
sure.
see this matchup in the AFC Championship, see someone new get there. But we're going to get to see Ravens and Bills this week. And then we're
Yeah.
going to get to see Ravens, Bills. And if the first game goes the way we think it's going to go, right? We'll be
Yeah.
seeing the Ravens or Bills at Arrowhead against the Chiefs next week.
Yeah. Either Buffalo or Baltimore has to exercise that demon with Kansas City
Yeah.
if Kansas City wins. Like that, and that's what I love about sports is like the redemption arc.
Yep.
Like,
So we're gonna see what ends up happening if things pan out the way we think, right?
yeah,
But listen, Lamar and the Ravens, they're gonna look to pound that rock, right? They're gonna get right behind that fullback and run right off the left side of that line and see what they can do. The question is gonna be, can the Bills stop it? And because that's gonna be what it's gonna be all postseason is, can you stop them from running the ball? Can you?
I I'm gonna say a thing. I actually my counter argument to that is if Buffalo gets up early like 10-0, 13-0, and this is no disrespect to Rashad Bateman, but like Lamar doesn't really have anybody to throw to.
Mark Andrews, man, and Isaiah Likely, and that's it. Rashad Bateman in the cold, I do not trust him. But Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, maybe,
Sure.
maybe, maybe.
I just like if you can get up quick on them, like and kind of take away Derrick Henry, because that's the teams that have beaten them this year have taken away Derrick Henry
Yep.
by getting up early on them so they can't run the ball.
Yes, they have. Yep.
And I just
Pittsburgh did
Buffalo,
that earlier this year.
yeah.
Um,
So I think Buffalo wins this. I do.
yeah, I listen. I do too. I really, I feel good about many things with Buffalo. They're more susceptible to getting thrown on than they are getting run against. Their running defense has been much better this year
Yep.
than it was in years past. But I one thing that is going to be interesting for me, and I told you I wanted to bring this up before about Kyle Hamilton. Ever since he moved to deep safety, they've been playing very, very well
Yeah.
on defense, and they've played much better the last month. I think month and a half since he's done that, made that move. But having Marlon Humphrey in the slot has made a big difference too. How is Josh Allen going to? Is he going to be continue on the path that he's been on all year, where he hasn't been turning the ball over? Or does this defense get pressure on him, force him into making some mistakes or some bad decisions, some bad throws? Because Kyle Hamilton's a dude, right? He's
Yep.
he's very, very good. So
I think you kind of saw this in the Denver game though, like where there were times where like Josh Allen was pressured and Josh Allen made the right decisions.
he did. He did, man.
And that's kind of been the thing he's done all year. He's made the right decisions.
That's what I meant to tell you. So with that video I sent you on Instagram, there was a whole video on like the mechanics, him working on his mechanics
Yeah.
of throwing and like really breaking down how he goes about the foundation of throwing. And it was fascinating to watch what he was
Yeah.
doing. It blew my mind, man. Blew my
Kudos
mind.
to him to be self-aware enough to know that he had to fix that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and it wasn't major tweaks that like someone, if he didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known, right?
yeah.
Or if he tell me, right?
Right.
If he didn't write me that memo and send me that letter in the mail, I wouldn't have known. Yeah. All right, so
Yeah.
You said you're going with Buffalo in this, right?
I do, just because like Buffalo, like we talked about with Arrowhead, how that's like a real home field advantage. Buffalo is kind of the same thing. That's a real home field advantage. And it's gonna be cold out. Like I keep saying this, and like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But like I need to see it from January Lamar. And
Yeah.
this, like, respectfully, like, this is the if he's going to do it, this is obviously got to be the year with all the weapons with Derrick Henry. But like, I don't trust him. So like for me, I'm gonna pick the Bills.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
What score do you have?
31-30. I think
What?
this is gonna be a nail biter.
Dude, I picked
This
the
is gonna be
same
a nail
score.
biter. What's that?
I picked the same score.
Did you
31-30.
really?
Yeah, dude.
I didn't even look. Oh man, that's hilarious.
Oh my
Uh,
god, that is amazing. Yeah.
hive mind, baby.
All
Yeah,
right.
no, I think that like I think there's gonna be a lot of points put up because of the talent of Allen and Lamar.
Yeah,
But I think when it really push comes to shove, I like Josh Allen at home.
I do too.
If this was in Baltimore, I think I would probably take the Ravens, but like
Yeah.
it's not. Like when you're like have a better record. Like
And listen, the more Buffalo fans that go through tables in pregame, the better chance they have of winning this game.
yeah.
So I'm really playing in Buffalo. I feel the same way you do, man. Like when you're playing at home, home field matters, man. Home field
Yeah.
matters. It
I have a
really
friend of
does.
mine that's a Bills fan. He and I have been watching big Bills games together just because like I think he like kind of needs somebody to like as an emotional support. My friend Dan, so like I'm glad I can provide that for him.
Yeah.
But he came over for the Sunday game and like yeah, no, he's cautiously optimistic. So
Yeah, I'll tell you, it could be very interesting. What happens in this game. Um, all right, man. Let's move on. I'm so pumped that we ended up having the same score on
that's
this.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's wild. So, Commanders at Lions. Detroit's getting 9.5 as of this morning. They were so kind of interesting. And when we say this morning, we're talking about Tuesday morning in Turkey,
Sure.
guys. So I know that's what you
Yeah.
guys got to base it off.
So
of,
Monday night, well, all of us were sleeping.
Yeah. Monday, you guys were all snug in your warm little beds there. All right, so Detroit gets 9.5, or at least that's what it was this morning. Listen, I really can't wait to watch this game. Like I like the Commanders. I like what they've done this year. I've been a big Jaden Daniels fan. I think he's made them must-watch football this year. We talked a little bit before about him, so I don't want to dive in too much on that. But the road ends here for him. And let me explain why. Like, this is going to be a measuring stick game for where Washington finds out how good they are and how far they need to go to compete in the NFC. I really feel that way. Even with all the issues that Detroit has on defense, I do not feel good. I don't feel confident that Washington's defense can hang with how good Detroit is on offense.
Yeah, Detroit's been beating the brakes off of teams. And even when they're not beating the brakes off of teams, they're putting up points. And Washington's offense is good. I will say this. I think Detroit, you can score on Detroit at this point. I really
you
do.
can.
I think they're so banged up defensively that I think you can score on them. I just don't think they have as good of weapons on offense as Detroit does.
Yeah.
I think Detroit's on a mission this year.
They are.
They're on a mission. Like,
I mean, Detroit, like, so they get a few guys back, right? Anzalone on defense, he's a monster for them. That's a big addition, him coming back. David Montgomery's coming back too. This offensive line that Detroit has is full of beef eaters that just love nothing more than pushing people around and violently pushing people around. And like, I think what Dan Campbell's been able to do and get them to embrace that controlled violence that they play with. My goodness, man. It's awesome to watch this team play. Awesome.
The thing that summed the thing because I think Detroit's going to win. I think the thing is if Washington's going to hang around, it's because Jared Goff has thrown a couple dumb interceptions.
Yeah, but
he does that.
He can do that, and they'll still end up like they could still end up winning by a lot. Like that's the problem is if they don't capitalize off of it, it doesn't mean anything, man. It's as if it didn't happen, right? It's
Detroit's Detroit's like a machine on offense. They just keep coming at you over and over again, and like eventually you just wear down because you're like, I don't know how we cover everyone. I don't.
Dude, Amon-Ra's unbelievable. Sam Laporta, he's had a down year, but still a great playmaker. Jamison Williams is coming into his own. Goff's making good decisions. This offensive line's great. David Montgomery's great inside the one. Jahmyr Gibbs gets 17 yards on just a little out, like, stretch run to the side, right? Like, I don't
And
know how
Gibbs
you
is
stop
good.
him.
And Gibbs is good if you line catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah,
Like he,
dude.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're they're so good on this team. I don't know. Like I want to say like okay, defense matters, but I also feel like deep down I want to see Aiden Hutchinson play in the Super Bowl.
yeah,
And there's rumors of him trying to come back for that game. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it would be a great story if it did.
yeah,
Um I don't know. For me, and listen, I really like Jaden Daniels. I like this team. I like what they've been able to do, but I don't think it's going to work out for them.
yeah. I have Detroit in this game. I have them winning this game 35-23. Because I think you can. Here's the thing. I think you can score in Detroit.
You can.
I think you can. I just don't think has enough. I don't think Washington has enough weapons to match point for point with Detroit. They don't.
Yeah.
Not many teams do, respectfully.
Yeah.
So
I actually have Detroit winning 35-17. I was like, "Oh man,
jeez.
did we almost get it again?" Like that's
Yeah.
craziness, but yeah, we will see for that. I'm very excited for that game. Last game that we've got before we wrap up here, Rams at Eagles, and the game that maybe many people thought we weren't going to have, right?
Yeah.
Philly, they're getting 5.5 early. But this is one that I could just see McVay out coaching Sirianni, and I feel like you agree with that.
Yeah, I said it earlier.
I know you're a McVay guy, so
Yeah. I This just feels like a game that I'm going to be frustrated watching for 3 hours because it's going to be such dog shit. Like it's just going to be a lot of like Saquon running it for 4,
yep.
Saquon running it for 3, 3rd and 2, Jalen Hurts for 3 with a tush push.
Mm-hmm. No,
Like,
no, no, no. Jalen Hurts, no gain. Then
yeah,
fourth and 2, Jalen Hurts, tush push. They get it up. Bring out the chain gang. Let's measure that.
yeah. Detroit, Philly just being up like 6-3 at halftime. You're like, God, I still have 30 minutes of this game to watch. Why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, it. Oh man, I.
And somehow I think Philly squeaks this out. I think, but like I don't.
Yeah, man. Like I like this Philly team, and I think it's loaded with talent. But I want to pick an upset, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay,
Sure.
there's as I mentioned, there's 8 teams left in the playoffs. Each one of them, you could say that the head coach absolutely will be there next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for one,
Yeah, Sirianni. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because 7
Yeah.
of them very well will be there. But if Sirianni loses this game, there's a chance Philly moves on from him. And
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but and I don't want to see that for him, right? I'm not trying to put that bad juju out there, but this Philly roster is arguably the most loaded roster in the playoffs right now with talent. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just if they can't get it done, they need to go find a coach who can. But I think a lot of these things that happened throughout the year, and they went on a tear. Philly did of winning just a ton of games. But these little things like AJ Brown reading on the sideline and all of that stuff during the game, that stuff matters. I know people say it doesn't, and they're just like, oh, he was just reading or whatever. But you can't have a guy like he's saying he's doing it to check in, but it really appears to most people like he's trying to check out, and that's not a
Yeah.
good thing at all.
The thing is with Sirianni is like it's respectfully like it's dumb if they want to fire him. He has a his record with Philly is 48-20.
Yeah,
Like what? Like
yeah,
I
they're
don't know what
really
else you
good, man.
want.
No,
Like
I know, dude. But I'm just saying, like,
Philly's nuts.
yeah, they
They're nuts.
are. They're crazy, absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. But Howie Roseman knows what he's doing, and that's
Mhm.
kind of the crazy thing about it. I don't know, man. When you think of this team, and they have a lot of talent on here, and it would be a shame because Barkley had just the ultimate year. He really did. Uh, And this offensive line had the ultimate year blocking for him, right? It would be a shame to see that go to waste. But if you told me that I'm going to wake up Monday morning and I'm going to hear that Philly didn't take this game seriously and they ended up losing to the Rams on like a last second field goal, I could believe it, man.
Yeah, this is a game where like if you told me that the Rams win this game, I'd be like, okay, that actually doesn't really shock me. Yeah, I've just watched Philly enough this year do the same thing over and over again, where like it's really ugly football, but they win, and yeah, so I think they're gonna win, but I think this is gonna be a low scoring affair.
Yeah. I for the sake of me picking an upset, I'm going to go 23-20 Rams. You have the Eagles winning, right?
Yeah, 17-13.
17-13. Okay. Ooh, it is low scoring. It is ugly.
Yeah,
Man, it could, and I would not be surprised. But if, like I said, if we wake up and you tell me, hey, listen, the Rams ended up winning this, I wouldn't be shocked, man. I
Jalen
really
Hurts at
wouldn't.
halftime is gonna be I'm sorry, like 4 of 9 for like 38 yards passing. That's
Yeah.
I would stake my life on it. Like you'll see a stat line like that at halftime.
Yeah, it's gonna
In
be
fact, I
unfortunate.
can't wait at halftime to screenshot it and just send it to you and just be like,
Please do. So, should we tell the people about what?
yeah.
Okay, so, guys, I'm taking a trip with my wife to go to Japan. Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, and so we're married. Yeah. So on
Yeah, he's in
Saturday,
Lerv.
yeah.
Oh God.
So on Saturday, we are going to be leaving for Japan from our time here. So we're going to be, I don't know, in Abu Dhabi at some point, transitioning to
Mm,
go to Japan. But I'm going to try to catch these games on the plane. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to. I don't know if I will, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to. And because I'm going to be in Japan next week, we may not be able to give you our typical show
yeah,
next week because I'm going to be on vacation and I won't have my equipment with me.
yeah,
But just know that I have thoughts. Al's got thoughts, and
yeah.
yeah, we will hopefully bring them to you. But we will be back for a Super
Yeah.
Bowl preview. We will be able to
We
give
will.
that.
Yeah,
Um, we're
yeah.
just it's too bad. It's too bad. But hey, listen, life comes at you. Sometimes you got to deal with it. So
Right.
uh, I'm hoping everyone has a safe weekend watching football. I'm
Yeah.
hoping the team that you want to win ends up winning. And I hope the team I want to win ends up winning too.
Yeah,
So,
I have a 4 day weekend this weekend because it's Martin Luther King weekend, and I took that Friday off, so I have a 4 day weekend, and I have no plans Saturday and Sunday, and I'm just gonna watch again football for 6 hours a day.
can I
I'm excited about that.
can I ask for like the 4 days, right? And
Mm,
you don't have to be fully honest, but 4 days, like what's the over under? Well, I'll give you a number and you tell me if it's over under.
sure.
The amount of wings and beers that you will consume.
Beers, no, because I live alone, so it's kind of a thing where I don't like to drink. I don't like to drink alone.
Ah,
That to me is like I real quick. I'm not gonna mean to bring this down, but like quick backstory. I have two parents and they're both alcoholics. So like for me, I'm really mindful of that.
mm-hmm.
Like you've seen me chug some beers, but it's always beers with the fellas. Like
I've seen you strike fear into some of my friends by how quickly
yeah,
you can
yeah,
chug a beer. Uh,
yeah. But like for me, I'm not one that will drink at home. It's
yeah.
not really my jam.
Well, then maybe we'll have to lower the number and just count wings. But I'm gonna say
It's
80
the over
wings.
80 wings.
80 wings in over four
No,
days.
I think that I probably have in me. I think I have at least a solid 30 in me,
Well,
35.
I mean, what's crazy is if you say 80 wings now, that's like almost $300-400.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's insane. But
yeah.
yeah, man, um, I hope you tear them up.
I'm going to.
Tear
Yeah,
them up.
yeah.
Uh, and I wish I could be watching this time last year, not this weekend, next weekend. Last year we were watching football together. So, uh,
That was a time you watched me drink a lot of beers.
Yeah.
I drank a lot of beers that day.
Maybe next year we could do something like that. So,
oh God,
yeah, I don't want to get everyone all excited.
Actually,
right?
not as many beers as our friend Colin. Our friend Colin always drinks the most beers.
Yeah, the most.
The most beers.
The most watery beer. That's what you could say. Yeah.
Love him. We love him.
All right. Well, at least, if we were saying Smirnoff Ices or something like that, we'd say Uncle Roger drinks the most. But
he seems like a guy that would drink Smirnoff Ices.
Yeah,
Uncle Roger.
What are those new seltzers they have? What are the?
Yeah, he seems like he would drink a Truly or two.
Yeah, Truly or two, and put some stevia in there.
Actually, you know what? Your Uncle Roger seems like a Coors Light kind of guy.
Ooh.
Yeah, it seems like all he could really handle.
I don't know. We heard about Bill drinking Coors Light now, so.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, I'm not afraid of your Uncle Roger like I am of Bill Gerard.
Yeah. That's
I fear.
That's a serious
man. I will never speak an ill word about him in front of him. I will not do it.
But you will talk about his son.
Yeah, Mr. Eighth Place. Yep.
Man, you gotta pin him on this just so he knows. So.
Yeah.
All right, but I think that's it, guys. We gave you some good football, gave you some great locker room talk at the end, and we will be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It looks like, to be able to give you a nice preview for the Super Bowl. So, like I said, stay safe, have some fun. You might drop a little clip in the meantime.
Maybe.
Yep. Yeah, let the people know.
Real quick, also want to shout out my new Lord and Savior, Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
So, yep. Wow. He's who I put my faith in now.
You are very happy that he didn't get hired in Vegas.
They were dragging their feet on it. I got real worried for a minute. Yeah. I was like,
sign this guy.
So,
yeah.
At least he didn't sign him with the Jets. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that would have been so good. You would have had to live all off season with that, and then all next year. It would have been too funny.
Golly.
Oh, man. All right. Well, listen, you take care of yourself. I love you, brother.
All right. Peace.
Peace.